कृष्णो रक्षतु मां चराचरगुरुः कृष्णं नमस्ये सदा। कृष्णेनैव सुरक्षितोऽहमसकृत् कृष्णाय दत्तं मनः।
One who is freed of this ragadvesha, this constant clinging to what one likes and hating what one dislikes, if we are freed of this clinging, then such a person, even if he moves in the whole world with his sense organs, he interacts, that means he interacts with the whole world, even then he never loses his anchor. Atmavashyehi vidheyatma. It is not a control from outside that he is applying to his senses. Vidheyatma. He is guided by his Atma. He is guided by the inner voice, by the core identity. Atmavashyehi. He is completely in harmony with his real identity. He remains anchored to his real identity, even when he interacts with the whole world. Now what happens by that? His sukha dukkha gets replaced by something called prasada. Prasadam adhigacchati. In sukha also he has prasada, in dukkha also he has prasada. If we can translate somewhat to mean this, what is this prasada? It is placidity. It's a placidity of the mind. In sukha he doesn't get elated, or as we generally understand the sukha. In dukkha he doesn't get depressed, as we generally understand by dukkha. Both in sukha dukkha he has the placid disposition of the mind, placidity, prasada. Generally we go to a saint and we ask for prasada and some sweet or some dry fruits or something is given. We consider that as the prasada. Actually it is not at all so. The prasada is really, when you go to a saint, he gives the calm of his mind, this evenness of his mind, which will make you placid both in dukkha and sukha, both in suffering and happiness. That quality of the mind is called prasada. So one should go to the saint to have this prasada, not the material prasada. Material prasada is only a way of external appearance, that's all. The real prasada is within. Once we had gone to Rishikesh to see a saint there, and one lady devotee, quite old, was repeatedly asking the Maharaj, Maharaj, aapne hame prasad nahi diya. And Maharaj was saying, that means, Maharaj, you have not given me prasada. And Maharaj was telling her that, why? I have already given you prasada. But the lady would not understand. Again after some time she says that, Maharaja, you have not given me prasada. Maharaja, you have not given me prasada. Aapne hame prasad nahi diya hai. So then finally Maharaj smiled and said that, well, you want this prasada? Whatever in a vessel was lying by his side, makhana and meshri and something. He took up this prasada, and while giving to the lady, he said that nobody understands prasada, what I am giving. They want only this prasada to eat. And he gave the prasada, and lady was very happy with the material prasada and went away. So the real prasada is this placidity of the mind. That is why he says that prasade sarva dukkhanam hanirasyoupajayate. All the dukkhas vanish. It is not that the dukkhas vanish, but the biting, the poisonous effect of the suffering, the biting of the dukkha, the pain and the affectation caused by the dukkha vanishes. So he becomes, with the prasada, one becomes prasanna citta. Prasannata has come from there only. The mind, with the mind which has prasada, is called prasanna. It's a cheerful disposition, but English will not express fully this prasannata. Our scriptures say, Muni prasanna gambhiro durvigahya duratyaya. A knower is prasanna, gambhira, he is very deep. Durvigahya duratyaya, he can never be crossed, his depth can never be measured. So prasannata is the quality of saintlyhood. Actually it is a quality of our Atma. As we come closer and closer to our real identity, we become more and more prasanna, placidity. This prasannata, in another sense, is freedom from insufficiency. We are always suffering from insufficiency. Why? You know why? We are always running after happiness. We are suffering from insufficiency. Why it is so? Because we are born of Ananda. We are born of that placidity. That is our characteristic, the property of our soul. But because our mind and senses, they are always outgoing, we are missing that soul quality, missing that Ananda. So we are always suffering from the insufficiency. And this insufficiency will never go until we get back to our source, until we discover our real identity. When we discover our real identity, we are in Ananda. We know that our nature is Ananda. And then we become prasanna. We no longer suffer from any insufficiency at all. Externally, materially, it might be very insufficient life, but his mind will never suffer from any insufficiency at all. So I said that for a person who has gone beyond this ragadvesha, who has attained this samatva, Bhagavad Gita later says that ihaiva tairjitas sargo yesham samye sthitam manaha niddosham hi samam brahma tasmat brahmanite sthitaha. One who has got established in this samya, he has won over this entire creation, remaining in this life, in this body. Ihaiva, iha iva, here itself, in this life itself, ihaiva tairjitas sargo yesham samye sthitam manaha niddosham hi samam brahma tasmad brahmanite sthitaha. Because why are we saying that this peak of samya is nothing but Brahma sthiti? This is a great statement of Bhagavad Gita. Because they are taking us to the same goal of the Upanishads. The goal of the Upanishads is to take us to Brahma sthiti. Here he is saying that by practicing samatva to its ultimate level, also you are attaining the same goal of Brahma sthiti. Why? Because Brahman is niddosham, is samam Brahma. The Brahman itself is the ultimate of samatva. There is no variation, no change, no fragmentation, no form, no limitation, no partition at all. That is what is Brahman. So when the mind attains that kind of a samatva, it is able to realize what it means. Niddosham, there is no dosha, no fragmentation at all. So that is equal to the Brahma sthiti. Tasmad brahmanite sthitaha. For such a person, the whole world becomes Brahman. The whole world becomes a Nandanavana. As in Dhanyashtakam, Shankaracharya says, Sampurnam jagadeva nandanavanam sarvepi kalpadrumaha gangam vari samastavari nivaha punya samasta kriyaha vachah prakrita samskrita shrutishiro varanasi medini sarvavasthitirasya vastu vishaya drishti parabrahmani sarvavasthitirasya vastu vishaya drishti parabrahmani. He says that drishte parabrahmani, one who has seen this Brahman, one who has realized this Brahman, for him the whole world becomes a heavenly garden, Nandanavana. All the objects in this world, they become the kalpavrikshaha, wish-yielding trees. That means there is no particular wish for him. What can be his wish? He finds Brahman everywhere and he interacts with whatever he interacts with, be it his enemy, be it somebody who is abusing him, or be it somebody who is loving him, he interacts with the Brahman alone. So everywhere he gets fulfilled by the interaction with the self-same Brahman. Sarvepi kalpadrumaha. Kalpadrumaha means vishilling trees, kalpavriksha. Gangamvari samastavari nivaha. All the water that flows, we consider Ganga, Ganges to be pure, and we go to take bath in Ganges to become purified. We can consider it as a pilgrimage. Any water to him becomes Gangavari, becomes Ganga water. Punyaha samastah kriyaha. Whatever is done, all the work, it becomes punya, auspicious. He doesn't have to specially do any puja or homa or yaga or any welfare activity also to attain punya at all. Everything is punya for him, because everything gives him the taste of expansion, the merger into the Brahman. His karmas are all kriya. Kriya means actually it is not motivated by desire. When it is a karma, we say it is motivated by desire. But the whole world, so much of activity, infinite, we cannot even imagine. All these are going on. They are all kriya. They are not motivated by any desire at all. Vachah prakrita samskritaha shruti shiro. Shruti shira. Shruti means the Vedas. Shruti shira means the Vedanta, the Upanishads. So whatever the words he is using or he is hearing, everything, whether it is prakrita means ordinary, the local worldly words, or Samskrita means whatever is expressing the truth, or jnana, whether they are knowledgeable or not, whether they are virtuous or not, it does not matter at all. Everything becomes for him the Vedanta. Varanasi Medini. The whole earth becomes Varanasi for him. People go to Varanasi for pilgrimage, because that is considered where Ganga is Uttaravahini, it flows towards north. That is considered a great pilgrimage, one of the greatest pilgrimage in our country. So for him, there is no particular any place as a pilgrimage. The whole earth, wherever he is, it is a pilgrimage, it is a pilgrim spot. Sarvavasthitirasta asya vastu vishaya drishte parabrahmani. Every thought or awareness reveals to him the Brahman, the truth, Brahman and Brahman alone. Such becomes his state. That is the state. The whole world gets divinized. All his interactions get divinized. In the last few verses of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna describes this state of the knower. In 2.69 he says, Ya nisha sarva bhutanam tasyam jagati samyami yasyam jagrati bhutani sa nisha pashyato muneh. Ya nisha sarva bhutanam tasyam jagati samyami yasyam jagrati bhutani sa nisha pashyato muneh. He says, Ya nisha sarva bhutanam, whatever is night for everybody, tasyam jagati samyami. The knower is awake in that. And yasyam jagrati bhutani, all the beings where they are awake, sa nisha pashyato munehe. A knower finds it to be darkness. It's a beautiful shloka depicting the state of a knower and where lies the difference. Because where are generally people awake? They are awake to the variety of the world. They never know who he is, that one universal, unchanging, untainted, unaffected soul. They are not aware of it. So is it not nisha for them? Is it not darkness, night for them? Because they are not able to know this. In our Shastras, in Ishopanishad as well as in other places also, all of us are called Atmaha, because one who has killed his own Atma. See, if we don't know who am I, if I don't know who am I, then have I not killed my Atma? What is the point in what I am? Because I don't know what I am. So my true identity I have killed. So all of us are murderers who have killed our own self. That is how the Upanishad depicts it. So for everybody this soul is not visible, it is not experientiable, it is not perceivable, it is not realizable. So it is darkness for them, it is nisha. But for the knower, tasyam jagatti samyami, he is ever awake to that. He is awake to this soul in every time, in every action. Kena Upanishad says, pratibodha viditam matam amritatvam hi vindate. When does one attain amritatva, immortality? When? Pratibodha viditam matam. When this truth is known in every perception. We are missing it every perception. Suppose this book is I am seeing this book. But the moment I am seeing this book, my focus is on the book. Truly speaking, this book is revealed in my consciousness. But I miss the consciousness. My focus is on the book. Any external object we see, we are always by habit, we are given to see formed, small, limited, fragmented things alone, fragmented situation alone. Even in our mind, we are seeing only fragmented concepts. Suppose some thought has come to my mind. Immediately my focus is on the thought. But this thought is revealed by whom? Revealed by the consciousness. So I miss the consciousness. My focus goes to the thought. Thought is actually then inert. It is an object before the consciousness. So we are always missing the consciousness in everything. So Upanishad says, pratibodha viditam matam amritatvam hi vindate. When we find this consciousness in everything, every perception, then we become immortal because we see our own real identity. So tasyam jagatti samyami, the knower always is awake, whether he is interactive or whether he is meditating or samadhi. Actually, he will not meditate or go into samadhi at all. He doesn't need it. Samadhi we need as long as we are not finding Brahman everywhere. We are not finding the self in everything. So particularly we have to go to a state to get that. Because we are disturbed by the external situation, we try to get into the peace of that. But when we find the same truth in the interactional world also, why do we particularly go into the samadhi? It is everywhere, it is the same. His state will be called sahaja samadhi. Yatra yatra manuyati tatra tatra samadhayaha. Wherever his mind goes, whatever he does, that is samadhi for him, because he does not find anything different from Brahman anywhere. Brahmarpanam brahmahavi brahmagno brahmanahutam brahmaiva tena gantavyam brahma karma samadhina. That is what Bhagavad Gita says in 4th chapter, that it is again compared to the Yajna concept. Here again he has taken this Yajna concept to this universal dimension where everything becomes Brahman alone. Brahmarpanam brahmahavi, that whatever we are offering, that act of offering is Brahman. Whatever we are offering in the fire is Brahman. The fire itself is Brahman. The Havana itself, the Homa Kunda itself is Brahman. Whatever we are doing, it is Brahman. Brahmarpanam brahmahavihi brahmagno brahmanahutam. It is offered by the Brahman. Brahmaiva tena gantavyam. Where it is going? The fire sacrifice, we feel that it is going to some Deva, to Indra and all the yajna we do. It is not going anywhere because it is already Brahman. Where will it go? It goes to the Brahman alone. All the actions, all the interactions, everything gets dissolved in this oneness, in this Brahman. So yanisha sarvabhutanam tasyam jagatti samyami yasyam jagrati bhutani. Where are the people awake? They are awake only to the fragmented identity with their own fragmented identity and with the fragmented world they are looking at. They are seeing only small things with their attraction, repulsion, small qualities. Yasyam jagrati bhutani sa nisha pashyato munehe. For the knower, these variety has no more relevance at all. He does whatever to be done, all the actions, they become natural. He goes on acting naturally, but they no more attract him or scare him. He doesn't want to avoid any dukkha. He doesn't get specially attracted by sukha also. Here I would like to point out that everybody feels a little confused when I say that dukkha also, the placidity remains. I would like you to think about, why do you go to see films where it is a tragic film, or why do you read stories or any book where it is a tragedy? While seeing a tragic film, are we not shedding tears? Profusely we shed tears. If it's a good film, we profusely shed tears. And sometimes, I think I have seen Pather Panchali about 6 times. What I used to do, I used to go and sit, and seeing everything I used to shed profusely. So is it not that we are paying money to go and suffer and shed tears profusely? Is it not enjoying the dukkha? Well, when I say enjoy, it is not exactly in the same sense as we use the word. But is it not enjoying the dukkha in reality? Suffering by itself is not to be rejected at all. In suffering, our mind comes to a deeper level. In fact, in happiness, we are not so deep as we are in suffering. So it is a deeper enjoyment. Only thing that whatever we are seeing in the film or reading in the book, if the same situation happens in our family, then we are not able to enjoy it. Then we start even calling God that, why did you put me in this situation? We wail, we cry. We don't shed tears in the manner as we do in the film, while seeing the film or while reading the book. That is a placid tears, that is a cooling tears. Those tears purify our mind. They give us an inner bath. But when the situation is happening in our own family, in our own case, we are not able to have it. Where lies the difference? The situation is the same in both cases. In one case we are able to enjoy it, in the other we are not able to take it with the evenness of the mind at all. It is only because of the sangha, only because of the me and mindness. You think, well, that is the subtle curtain between the two. Only that me and mindness attached to that. If we can get rid of this me and mindness, you will find the whole world will become Nandanavana. Our whole life will become a life in Nandanavanam. We are not able to get rid of that sangha. That sangha has to be treated. Then, as we are shedding tears and enjoying a tragic film, we will enjoy the tragedies at home also in the same manner. I don't want to use the word enjoy, but that is the only word. It gives a deep, fulfilling note in suffering. Rabindranath Tagore has said, those who have given me enjoyment, those who have given me joy, through that joy or happiness, through that joy and happiness, he has given me the touch of the Lord. I prostrate before him. Those who have given me suffering, through that suffering, he has given me the touch of the Lord, so I prostrate before them also. I prostrate before them who has given me happiness, and I prostrate before them who have given me suffering, because through both happiness and suffering, they have given me the touch of the Lord. The Lord has come to me through those dukkha as well as sukha. So he says, Ya nisha sarva bhutanam tasyam jagati samyami yasyam jagrati bhutani sa nisha pashyato muneh. Then he goes on to describe the state of the knower further. This I have explained earlier also, I will repeat. He says, Apuryamanamachala pratishtham samudramapah pravishanti yadvat tadvat kamayam pravishanti sarve sashantimapnoti na kama kami. Apuryamanamachala pratishtham samudramapah pravishanti yadvat tadvat kamayam pravishanti sarve sashantimapnoti na kama kami. He speaks the truth that those who are running after desireful objects to fulfill their desires, they don't get peace. We think that by fulfilling this desire we will become happy. But if that is so, then everybody would have become happy long back. Have we seen everybody becoming permanently happy by fulfilling any of his desires? We run after things one after another. One thing, one desire is fulfilled, for a moment we become happy till another desire comes in for something else, or another criticism or blameful thought comes about somebody else. We fulfill another desire and again we may become happy for a second, and again till another desire comes in and distracts our mind. So we never really get peace at all. So he says, kama kami na shanti mapnoti. A person who is motivated by desires, he never gets peace at all. But who gets peace? Sa shanti mapnoti. Who is that saha? Apuryamana machala pratishtham samudram apaha pravishanti yadvat. Tadvat kamayam pravishanti sarve.